Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. David in with you. And today I thought that we would talk about um, an intro to playing lead or soloing, improvisation, whatever. There's a bunch of different words and names for it, but a lot of guys are very content to play rhythm and strictly that, and that's all they want to do, and that's fine. More power to you. I like playing rhythm a lot of times and listening to a good lead player, just jamming with them. But I love to play lead. I love to solo and to improvise and have all kinds of stuff. Just having fun with it. So, you look back and when you talk about uh, guitarists, I mean, yeah, you can picture a few guys that just kind of strum the chords. A lot of those are singer-songwriters, but when you really think about guitarists, I mean, you can start going down a list and naming a lot of people. I mean, you got Jimi Hendrix and you've got Eric Clapton, um, Jimmy Page, Slash, Joe Satriani, uh, Carlos Santana, Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen. I probably said that wrong. Mark Knopfler. So a lot of guys, when they want to learn to play lead, the kind of question is, where do I start? What's a good place to begin? Because there's a whole lot of frets on this neck and a whole lot of strings. So um, I have good news and I have bad news for you. The bad news for some people is that music is math. You can't get around it. I mean, you got your time signatures and there's um, just the math that's involved in like your 1 4 5 progressions and chord variations. You have your twos and your fives and your sevens and your major sevens and I mean it's all math. There's numbers. There's a lot of numbers. But the good news about that is that numbers equate into patterns, and so that's what I'm going to teach you today is a pattern that is great for starting to play lead. It's definitely a starting point, and there's tons of ways to go after this, but it's just a good spot to begin. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to do it in A. I'm tuned to just a standard E. So, but we're going to play the lead in A, and I'm going to show you the pattern in that. So I'm going to start off with my 5th fret and my low E string, go up to the 8th fret, go to the next string's 5th fret, 7th fret, same string, 5th fret, next string, 7th fret, same string, 5th fret on the next string, 7th fret, same, 5th fret on the next string, 8th fret, 5th fret on your high E string, and 8th fret on your high E string. Billy Gibson, Tony Iommi, Paul Gilbert, Eric Gales, Joe Bonamassa, B.B. King, Albert Collins, Buddy Guy, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Brian May. So once again, just going down the neck, and it's all 5, so you can almost bar your finger across there if you want to do that and you're a glutton for punishment. So it's 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. So it's almost like a C shape, and I think I've heard people describe it that way. And it can go backwards as well. And the cool thing about this is because it's just a shape, the key that you're playing in, as long as you start the key on that root note, which is where your index finger is going to go, that 1st fret that you hit, you can change it. So if we were playing in G and you wanted to play this, which I forgot to mention, this is a minor pentatonic scale. So if you wanted to play it in G, you just back it up and start on the 3rd fret and go, what is that, 3, 6, so. So 3 6 3 5 3 5 3 5 3 6 3 6. If you were playing it in C, you can go all the way up and start on your C. So it's fun to do, and great. And the great part is, if you're doing just sort of the regular blues rock type of riff, you can't go wrong. Pretty much, you can hit just about any note in there while they're playing. Everybody's playing their chords, and you're gonna sound all right. So let's jam with it a little bit. I got just a standard blues backing riff to go along with, and that's all I'm going to do. It's in A. I'm just going to hit those notes in that pattern. You can skip strings, you can go backwards, you can go forwards, you can jump all over the neck. As long as you stay in that pattern, in that key, you're going to be all right. So let's jam out a little bit and see how we sound. David Gilmour, Johnny Lang, Albert King, let's see, John Lee Hooker, Phil Keaggy, John Mayer, Eric Johnson, Muddy Waters, Robert Cray. Buckethead, Eddie Van Halen, Chuck Berry, Prince, Dwayne Allman, Les Paul, yeah, the guy that created the guitar, Joe Perry, Chet Atkins, Ritchie Blackmore, Keith Richards. So it just kind of gives you an idea, and you can hit double strings, you can skip strings. I think I said that already, but there's just a ton of stuff for you to do and play around with and have fun. And then you start looking at adding some vibrato to your string, just slightly bending it, and then you got your full on bend. So you're here and you bend up, and there's just all kinds of stuff. Then you can add your effects, and it just goes from there. Like I said, this is kind of a starting point, but I can already hear some of you out there saying, but David, I don't always play stuff in minor. The people that I play with, sometimes we have songs that are in major keys, and minor lead will not work in a major key. And you are absolutely 100% correct. It will sound terrible. But the good news is that this will still work. All you have to do is, instead of going with your root note and going up 3, you start on your, I said 3, it's 3, 4, depending on how you look at it. But instead of starting with, like, let's say if we were going to play we were playing in A, let's say if we were going to play in C, so we're going to do a C major. Okay, so now my root note, instead of being A, is going to be C. So if I go back 1.5 steps, or 1.5, one full tone and a semitone, or however you want to say it, and then I play the pattern there, same pattern, your 5/8 5/7, 5/7, 5/7, 5/8, 5/8. It's going to work. So if we're playing in C, half tone would be B. Go back your full tone 2. Look at that, we're in A again. So I can still play the same pattern in the same spot even though everyone else is playing in a different key. So let's take a look at how that sounds and see what we can do with it. So yeah, you can kind of get an idea how that works, and of course, you know, you can throw in a few other things too. If I would give you a little bit of advice on top of that is, do not get in the habit of resolving to your root note in your improvisation. And what I mean by that is, if you're playing an A, your root note is going to be A, and your natural tendency when you're playing that pattern is going to be at the end of the bar, go back to the A note. So you don't have to do that. It sounds good, but it can get boring after a while. So resolve to something else. Resolve to your 5, or even your, I guess that would be your 7. So. Or, you know, resolve back to your root, but then skip an octave, jump up, however you want to do it. But, you know, the thing is, just have fun, guys. You know, if you feel so inclined, leave a little tip in the comments. Like and subscribe, share the video, tell your friends, and as always, keep practicing. Billy Corrigan, Dick Dale, Joe Walsh, Angus Young, Kirk Hammett, Robert Johnson, Dave Navarro, John Frashani, Danny Gatton,